What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Breaking news from MLF today. They just announced their 2025 rule changes for forward-facing sonar, and this is what you need to know. First off, starting in 2025, all boats across all MLF circuits will be limited to 2 forward-facing or 360 sonar transducers in any combination. Additionally, no bow-mounted screens may extend vertically more than 18 inches off the surface of the front deck at its highest point when the boat is on plane. So just measuring that, pretty straightforward. And no screen mounted at the console may extend vertically more than 16 inches off the top of the steering column where it protrudes from the console. So that is a rule throughout everything from college all the way up to, I think it's a rule for the most part, all the way through the organization. Now let's sort of talk about the intricate details of each of the divisions within MLF. First off, the BPT, we are going to go to a 1 period. Pros will basically be limited to 1 period, 2 transducers, the same scenario. Whether it's a combination of 360 or transducer, but only allowed to utilize this technology for 1 period, which I think it gives us. I'm a fan of this personally because 1 single period, 2/3 of your tournament season, you are not going to be competing with the technology. And 1/3 of your tournament season, you're going to allow to be able to utilize it. It's consistent every single tournament. I know what I have. I get 1 period to utilize it per a day, and then it's over with. They're also going to have an icon or a little mark up there to allow you to know on Score Tracker while you guys are watching live whether I'm utilizing technology or I'm not. So that's going to be cool as well. I think it's sort of a way, or you'll also know if I used it or I still have that toward me the last period I'm holding off and maybe I have something up my sleeve that I can use the technology. So it's going to bring back old school bass fishing in some ways, but it's also not going to hurt us in the younger anglers and give them the opportunity to still throw a freeloader if they want to do that. Throw your Nikos and stuff like that as well. So you're going to see I'm going to have a lot of rods rigged up, that's all I'm going to say. I'm definitely excited for that because I think it gives me an opportunity to show off so many different things. And I think there's a lot, it really allows for each angler to show that off accordingly to what their, what their sort of strength is. And I think that's cool. Obviously, live scope and active target, the technology is super efficient. And I did a full video and breakdown on the BPT side of this on my channel. So if you want to hear my full understanding and my full mindset and in my opinions on this, go ahead and watch that one. It'll be on the channel as well. But I'm excited about it. I think it's pretty cool. And let's go on to number 2, and that is going to be the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. In the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, qualifying days will be evenly split with forward-facing and 360-degree sonar allowed on day 1 and prohibited on day 2. Anglers who advance to the championship round will be allowed to use the technologies on day 3. Forward-facing and 360-degree transducers must be covered up with a high visibility cap provided by MLF that prohibits sonar transmission during times when it's not allowed. No restrictions will apply to practice. So it is definitely a combination as well at the Tackle Warehouse side of things because you're trying to qualify for the BPT and you're competing at that AAA level in the invitationals, the highest level of a 5-fish limit, a cumulative weight over 3 days. I believe that MLF tried to make a decision based on how they didn't want to have just live scoping anglers that qualified for the BPT and then you get thrown in there and you only get to use it for 1 period. They didn't want to have just anglers with no live scope and no technology to be able to jump up there and then get demolished by the opposite side. So I think it's a really good in between. This one it's really tricky because, you're getting, basically your qualifying days, basically how that works is 150 anglers compete. I fished 2 invitations this year. 150 anglers compete day 1 and day 2. So day 1, you can use the technology. Day 2, you can't. And this basically makes it to where most of the anglers, I think only top 30, the rules haven't come out from my understanding, but top 30 advance on to the championship day. Well, the majority of the field has to compete in that, the majority, 120 anglers have to have 1 day on and 1 day off. That's it. And then you're gone. You're done, right? 30 anglers will get the opportunity to utilize active target and forward-facing sonar and 360 on that final day. But it's a good middle ground. It allows for diversity to come back in the sport. anglers on day one that scope them up and figure something out. Day two, they're going to have to make an adjustment. And this sport is all about adjustments. Do not think it's not. You have to ultimately change it up every single day and adjust most days, and that is going to make it, I might have to fish a couple of those because I'm looking forward to that as well. Seeing how the anglers adjust with it and without it will be an interesting side of it. I think it'll make it difficult, challenging. You know, hey, I want to hear your comments below on that one as well. The Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, great tour. I fished it this year. Kevin Hunt does a great job as tournament director. I think it'll be fun to watch. That's for sure. I'm interested to hear what everybody has to think about that one. Jumping down into the Toyota Series, Phoenix Bass to the BFLs and the Toyota Series and the college events. Basically, nothing is going to change at that level of those three tiers. Other than the fact of you're limited to 2 live transducers or a combination of 360 is included in there. So nothing's changing. There is no screen limitations. You're not getting your tape measure out there and this and that. You're just simply, look, you're limited to the restrictions, the safety restrictions, and you're limited to overall the amount of transducers you have on your boat with the live transducer or the 360 transducer. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I think there's good to have a line in the sand, and I think that's important. And then last but not least, a big one is the high school side of things. I did a whole video on the channel, so if you want to know more about this, I talked about my personal opinions on this as well. High school bass fishing, they prohibited in all competition the use of forward-facing sonar in 360 in high school bass fishing at the MLF. So that is a big one. Big one. I have a lot of experience fishing high school bass fishing in junior tournaments, and I think this is really something that the fundamentals of tournament bass fishing is really important to teach to our youth. I had a friend of mine, was out with a buddy and his son, and they was fishing the other day, and they were fishing, scoping fish, and they caught a few nice ones, 3 or 4 bass, and then they went shallow, and they started fishing frogs and topwaters and walking baits, and catching about the same number of fish on both sides. And the young angler, he was 11 years old, and he said, "Man, I wanna go back out scoping." And he's like topwater is like literally the most fun thing you could do in bass fishing. And he's like, well, why do you? So he asked the young angler, he said, "Man, why would you want to go out there and scoping?" He said, "Well, I can see the fish out there. I can't see those fish on the bank, so I don't have the confidence to catch those fish." So I think that's really important to instill the values and the fundamentals of tournament bass fishing into our young anglers. I mean, this is the future of the sport, and do I think that live scope and active target will be less effective as the years goes on and more anglers understand the technology? Absolutely, I do. But it is important to teach these young anglers that it's not always easy, and you're gonna have to make adjustments with the tackle, just as much so as when you start with golf or anything else. You gotta learn how to chip, you gotta learn how to putt, you gotta learn how to use your irons, you gotta learn how to drive. It's a multifaceted sport of so many different things. There's endless techniques to learn, and that's what makes this sport so much fun and entertaining to watch as well. So I think all of these restrictions and all these decisions are basically to try to make this sport a better place. I think MLF did what they thought was right, and you know, that's the rundown. I mean, I think overall, I like a lot of the restrictions. I like the step in the right directions. They know that forward-facing sonar is a phenomenal technology. I'm against a ban at top levels, but I think that fundamentally we got to try to figure out how to want to see our sport 5 years from now. And I don't think anyone truly knows what the impacts are going to be. We don't understand. I'm not on this like this crazy mindset but I do understand the severity of everything. I realize, I understand what they're trying to do, and I commend them for looking at each side of this differently. Do I think that every decision they made in this press release is perfect? No, it's not. And you're not going to get it right the first time. This is always going to continually change. Every organization out here right now is making decisions, restricting things accordingly. And I think that this is really something for MLF to come out and give you the full rundown of exactly what they're thinking and what they want to see their organization and the future of bass fishing look like man, it's a step in the right direction. I think that we'll know more as the years go on. I don't think they jumped to any drastic decisions, made adjustments where they felt like was right, and we're going to find out how this all works out. So drop a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'm going fishing.